in a normal life, your marriage is the core of everything. A happy marriage produces happy people and happy children. And I just don't think she spent a lot of time on that. I mean, she really dislikes her husband. Super obvious. I'm not just saying that to be catty. I think I'm trying to feel compassion for her, but her hostility toward the guy is like unbelievable.
I know. I mean, because when you're thinking of victims of this awful world, you think of Michelle Obama and how terrible we've all been to her. This woman is a one-woman destitution derby. Every time we check in on her at her podcast, she is feeling sorry for herself.
For years, she was a global phenomenon, an almost mythical figure crafted with such precision that her very name evoked grace, power, and unwavering authenticity. Adored by millions, celebrated by media, Michelle Obama stood as a beacon of inspiration. Her journey from the south side of Chicago to the White House, a testament to resilience and unwavering principle. She was the one who famously told us, when they go low, we go high. Her marriage to Barack Obama was depicted as an unbreakable bond, a love story for the ages, the ultimate couple goals curated for public consumption. Her every move, every word, every carefully selected outfit seemed designed to project a message of relatability, of shared struggle, of profound understanding for the everyday challenges faced by ordinary Americans. But what if this meticulously constructed image, this polished facade of approachable perfection, was in fact an elaborate illusion? What if the struggle she so often spoke of was a luxury most could only dream of? What if the dark secret wasn't some hidden scandal, but a glaring, undeniable disconnect between her opulent reality and the narrative she painstakingly cultivated for the world?
She says is negative.
About him,
I mean,
for
how
sure,
long have we known each other?
2007.
I can't even think of one negative comment you've ever made about Susie. I almost never say negative things about Doug. It's not she is criticizing Barack Obama or this country. She never has a positive word to say about anything. And the latest example was when she went on this other guy's podcast, Jay Shetty. She goes and sits down with him, and he asks her, what are you afraid of? And she starts off by saying, well, it's not, my fears aren't for me. You know, I think about the streets. My fears aren't for me.
Well, in this current climate for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants.
I mean, I travel in a 4-car motorcade. After all, I'm Michelle Obama. But she actually says this.
This very question became the explosive focal point when two of America's most unyielding voices, Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, decided it was time to pull back the curtain. They didn't just question the narrative, they meticulously dissected it on live television, using their platforms to tear down the seemingly impenetrable fortress of Michelle Obama's public image. It was a no-holds-barred expose, a full-blown roast with extra flames, leaving her perfectly polished persona not just critiqued, but utterly shredded. The queen of inspirational sound bites, the architect of a seemingly faultless brand, was about to be dethroned with side-eye precision. Carlson and Kelly didn't just call her out, they dragged her through every contradictory move, every expertly orchestrated PR stunt, and every sanctimonious moment. If you thought Michelle Obama was untouchable, prepare for the jarring reality. She was about to become a punchline, albeit one with Secret Service clearance, and the revelations would leave the public stunned, questioning everything they thought they knew about this modern icon.
My first response is it feels so antique. It feels so 2017. It's like literally nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. All of those talking points, people of color under attack. No, they're not. They're coming here by the millions because this is the safest country for everybody, no matter what your color is, or it was in any case. So like that's just so old-fashioned. I mean, it's really like you expect her to say, let me fax you my thoughts on this. Because it's just like she's so out of it.
The public perception of Michelle and Barack Obama's marriage has long been that of a perfect union, an aspirational benchmark for couples worldwide. Their coordinated photo ops, their heartfelt public declarations, their seamless partnership. It all looked like a Pinterest board brought to life, a Hallmark movie with an inexplicably lavish production budget. This was the narrative, meticulously curated and reinforced through every media appearance. But then came the stunning, almost audacious assertion from Carlson and Kelly, an unexpected challenge to this very foundation. They claimed with a striking bluntness that cut through the usual media politeness, that beneath the public smiles, the synchronized appearances, and the TED Talks about empathy, a far more complex complex and troubling truth lurked. They suggested a marriage potentially riddled with underlying dislike, even unbelievable hostility from Michelle towards her husband. She really dislikes her husband, Carlson stated matter-of-factly, insisting it was super obvious. Kelly chimed in, highlighting Michelle's consistent negative comments about Barack, contrasting it with healthy relationships where partners rarely disparage each other publicly. This wasn't just idle gossip, it was a direct, pointed challenge to the very heart of the couple goals brand that had been so central to her public identity. It raised uncomfortable questions. How much of what we saw was genuine connection, and how much was a meticulously maintained illusion? The effort to maintain that flawless image, they argued, took real effort. An army of publicists, stylists, and social media managers all working tirelessly to convince the world they were just like us. If their most sacred bond was a manufactured facade, what else about their presented lives was equally constructed for public consumption?
That, of course, leads me to Michelle Obama. You're back, and she's given us a whole new realm of comments. Glenn, we saved them just for you. Because she's still...
I told your staff I only started watching this podcast religiously because of the times I've been on your show and you've talked about it by yourself or with me. So I'm very ready to talk Michelle Obama.
Oh, good. She's still just as bitter as ever. There's such a great new spin of complaints here. Here's one from her most recent episode, which still on YouTube, she's got like 200,000 subscribers. It's really amazing that now she's been doing this for how many episodes? She's been literally on every podcast of the left wing promoting it. And that's still all she's managed to get.
Then came the narrative of struggle, a recurring theme in Michelle Obama's public discourse. She often portrays herself as a victim of circumstances, someone who has faced immense hardships, navigating a challenging world and overcoming significant obstacles. Her podcast, An Exercise in Self-Reflection, frequently circles back to themes of self-pity and the burdens of her life. She speaks of feeling sorry for herself, of the immense difficulties of being First Lady, of the stresses of raising daughters in the White House, and the daily challenges that come with her unique position. Yet, Carlson and Kelly didn't just question this narrative, they dismantled it, piece by agonizing piece for millions to see. They pointed out the stark, almost comical contrast between her lamentations and the undeniable reality of her life. Her ownership of a multi-million-dollar Martha's Vineyard estate, her access to private jets, personal chefs, and an unlimited pantsuit budget. They famously characterized her as a one-woman destitution derby, a term that cut to the core of their critique. They recounted specific instances, like her complaint that being First Lady was really hard. Kelly sarcastically quipped, "Yes, because having a chef, a private jet, and an unlimited pantsuit budget is a burden only few could bear." They painted a vivid, cynical picture. While most Americans were trying to figure out how to stretch a $12 grocery bill across 5 dinners, Michelle was probably crying over the wrong shade of lavender in the East Wing. The sheer absurdity of her claims of fear for immigrants while traveling in a 4-car motorcade was highlighted with incredulity. The image of her describing her life as a struggle from the sun-drenched balcony of her multi-million-dollar Martha's Vineyard estate hit a particularly raw nerve. If this is oppression, Carlson scoffed, most of America would gladly sign up. It was a brutal, unrelenting takedown, exposing a profound, almost offensive disconnect between her proclaimed reality and the opulent, sheltered life she undeniably leads. They ridiculed her relatable but not really routine, noting that while marriages are indeed hard, few people are trying to squeeze in an 8-figure Netflix deal between brunch and inspirational speeches. Kelly added with a skeptical look that if a Spotify contract, an Ivy League resume, and a designer jacket worth more than most people's rent is what struggle looks like now, then the average American must be living in a constant state of unimaginable oppression. This wasn't just a critique, it was a public shaming, a relentless assault on the very idea that she could credibly claim victimhood while residing in a bubble of unimaginable privilege.
And then she goes, and then you're like, why? What's going to happen to her girls if they're not recognizable? And she goes on a diatribe about the arrests that we're making of illegal immigrants. And that now we all have to live in fear, people of color, because it's a racist Republican Party that's running America now, that people of color, I guess, have to live in fear because we're all a bunch of racists who made her a billionaire and elected her husband president twice. But we're so racist, you see, we could just grab any random person of color in the street and send them off to El Salvador.
The second thing is that like we always beat up on, you know, rich white ladies because they're the most disruptive force in America, but that's unfair. It's not about color. There's something about the people with the most in our country that's really poisonous. They're the unhappiest, they're the most restless, they're the most self-involved, they're the least generous, they're the most annoying. And it's not just a gender thing, it's men too. But there's something about America at this moment where the unhappiest people are also the most privileged. And I think it does tell you something deep about accumulating money or worshiping money. It like doesn't fill the empty space at all. It doesn't, you know, Larry Fink is a miserable person in real life, despite having billions of dollars. And of course, you know personally, and I do too, a lot of deeply unhappy billionaires, way more unhappy than the guy fixing your air conditioning.
Her memoir, Becoming, was more than just a book. It was a seismic cultural event, a masterclass in transforming personal narrative into a global phenomenon, and a monumental financial success. It launched her into an entirely new stratosphere of celebrity, solidifying her status as a global icon. Yet, for Carlson and Kelly, it was less a raw, vulnerable account and more a meticulously planned brand launch. They argued that by the time readers were halfway through its 300 pages of vague anecdotes, humble brags, and strategic vulnerability, they weren't just absorbing a story, they were being sold an entire lifestyle, a multi-platform empire complete. With a podcast, a smoothie recipe, and perhaps even a scented candle subtly branded Hope and Cardio, the sheer scale of its media rollout was unprecedented for a memoir. The exclusive Oprah interviews, the stadium tours that charged stadium level ticket prices. The irony her critics highlighted was palpable. Here was a figure charging concert-level fees to explain how hard it was to have too many options in life, a narrative that struck many as profoundly tone-deaf. Her struggle, they asserted, with biting sarcasm was indeed real, but it was real expensive, real well-lit, and real good at marketing. Tucker couldn't resist pointing out that her entire vibe had shifted from when they go low, we go high, to a more transactional, when they go low, I sell another book. This wasn't about shared experience or genuine connection. It was about leveraging a public platform for unprecedented financial gain, a strategy of curated vulnerability designed to extract millions, setting the stage for an even grander financial empire built on the foundations of manufactured relatability.
So there is like, it's a theological principle that I think is worth saying out loud. Worshiping money, worshiping power, organizing your life so you get more of both does not give you peace or happiness. In fact, it seems to produce the opposite. People like Michelle Obama, who's drowning in Lake Me. I mean, Michelle Obama is literally going down for the third time into this pool of self-involvement, and you don't think she's going to come up again. Like, she's dying of affluence, privilege, and self-obsession, obviously.
Everything she says is negative.
Forgive me, but you and I may be two of the only people with access to a camera or a microphone who are not exactly bedazzled by Michelle Obama. I don't care that she's not going to the inauguration. I don't care whether she is or isn't in the same house as her husband. I don't care what she says in advocacy of a candidate one way or the other. I've never got the Michelle Obama theme. Does anyone care that she's not going to be there when all eyes are on Trump and his wife?
I kind of like it. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little beyond not caring. I'm like, good. Don't come.
Stay away.
You know, seriously, you're out there, you know, endorsing that he's a misogynist, Hitler-esque type, because stay home. No one wants to see you. You're right. Yeah. We shouldn't come. I'm glad you skipped the Carter funeral so you wouldn't have to sit next to him. Maybe. We don't know why. I don't mind not seeing you at the inauguration.
Beyond her personal narratives and literary empire, Michelle Obama has consistently and quite vocally expressed her disdain for the world of politics, famously declaring that she hates politics and doesn't want power. This public aversion, however, became another glaring contradiction that Carlson and Kelly seized upon with relish. They highlighted her unyielding criticism of the country and its political direction, especially under Republican leadership. They observed that she never has a positive word to say about anything, instead frequently painting a bleak picture of America as a nation run by a racist Republican Party where people of color are forced to live in fear because of immigration. policies. This, they underscored, was coming from a woman who was made a billionaire and whose husband was elected president twice by the very country she so often criticizes. It was, they concluded, an act of legendary levels of selective amnesia, a profound hypocrisy from someone who has benefited so immensely from the American system. But perhaps the most intriguing and contentious revelation was the persistent, simmering rumor of her own political ambitions. Despite her public disinterest, Megyn Kelly boldly suggested that Michelle Obama would run for office eventually, theorizing it might be the only thing left on her bucket list that doesn't have a Netflix special attached. Carlson even joked about having a nickname ready, probably something involving leafy greens, elitism, and motivational bumper stickers. This transformation from a vocal opponent of the political arena to a potential reluctant prom queen of progressives who only accepts power out of duty, not desire, was a stark example of the calculated nature of her public persona. The truth, as Carlson often quipped, is that those who claim to not want power are usually the ones who crave it most, subtly accepting it with a smirk and a well-rehearsed disclaimer. Her consistent critiques of American society, coupled with the growing whispers of a future candidacy, positioned her as a master of political maneuvering, expertly shaping public perception while outwardly rejecting the very game she might secretly be preparing to dominate.
So they tell you can order anything, and they listen very carefully because everybody listens to every word that the president says. And I used to tell Barack, don't say you want something, because then we'll have like thousands of it. You know, and then we're paying for it. So if it was a shock. If he said he liked some rare fish, he just happened to say, this is delicious. And then we get the bill at the end of the month, and it's like, you flew that fish in from China? It's like, that fish wasn't that good.
Listen, everybody.
Like, don't say you like that fish. Yeah, a lot of people think, you know, and this is also was sort of an interesting thing when people would say that taxpayers are paying for that. And the truth is, yes, you don't pay rent and you don't pay for staff, but everything, every dish, they would count the number of peanuts that you'd eat and charge it back.
No.
So you get a bill at the end of it. It's not aw, we live in a White House, y'all. You know.
Beyond her political commentary and memoir empire, Michelle Obama also famously championed healthy living, particularly through her war on junk food in schools. She became the Kale Queen, the lunchroom legislator, the broccoli whisperer, advocating for healthier options and influencing dietary guidelines for millions of American school children. While her intentions may have been noble and her dedication admirable, the critics were quick to highlight the profound, almost comical disconnect between her public mandates and her own luxurious reality. They painted a vivid picture of middle schoolers across the country, quietly plotting her downfall after being force-fed dry carrot sticks and turkey wraps that looked like crime scenes, all while Michelle's own personal chef was preparing sea bass with lemon aioli for her family. Tucker Carlson famously joked that Michelle managed to ruin pizza for a generation of kids, a sentiment echoed by countless parents struggling with new school lunch menus. Kelly bluntly stated that telling millions of kids to eat healthy while your own chef prepares gourmet farm-to-table meals isn't exactly the solidarity moment of the century. Instead, it's the pinnacle of irony. This segment of her public life, more than almost any other, cemented the image of a well-intentioned yet deeply out-of-touch figurehead. It wasn't just about food, it was about the broader perception of elite figures dictating lifestyles from their privilege bubble, seemingly oblivious to the everyday struggles of Americans trying to find affordable, fresh vegetables, let alone the luxury of a kale smoothie. The Obama's kitchen, they mused, probably had more kitchen gadgets than the average Costco, and the produce likely got flown in from an organic farm somewhere where no child has ever touched a slice of pizza. This narrative of the Kale Queen, enforcing mandates that felt disconnected from the realities of most American households, only served to widen the perceived chasm between her and the very public she aimed to inspire. Perhaps the most thought-provoking and indeed cynical aspect of Carlson and Kelly's critique wasn't just about Michelle Obama herself, but a broader, more philosophical observation about modern society. They argued that paradoxically, the unhappiest people are also the most privileged. They spoke of a poisonous quality that seems to afflict those with the most wealth and power in America, describing them as restless, self-involved, and profoundly unhappy. They pointed to Michelle Obama's consistent demeanor, which they characterized as still just as bitter as ever. Despite her global adoration, immense professional success, and unimaginable wealth, it's a powerful, almost theological principle. They claimed that worshiping money, worshiping power, organizing your life so you get more of both does not give you peace or happiness. In fact, it seems to produce the opposite. They cited examples of deeply unhappy billionaires, way more unhappy than the guy fixing your air conditioning, suggesting that the constant pursuit of more, of accumulation, fails to fill the empty space within. Michelle Obama, in their view, became a prime, almost tragic example of this phenomenon. They painted a stark image of her drowning in Lake Me, going down for the third time into this pool of self-involvement, seemingly dying of affluence, privilege, and self-obsession. Obviously, everything she says is negative, Carlson's asserted, pointing to her critical stance on the country, and even her talk about possibly not forgiving voters as absolutely legendary levels of selective amnesia. It was a profound indictment that despite all the accolades, all the wealth, all the global adoration, true contentment remains elusive for those who accumulate without end, often leading to a state of perpetual dissatisfaction and self-absorption. Michelle Obama's recurring theme, often touted in her public appearances, her memoirs, and her podcast, is authenticity. She presents herself as real, relatable, and genuinely connected to the human experience, a true embodiment of her just like us brand. Yet for Carlson and Kelly, this very claim became the subject of their most pointed and sarcastic mockery. They dissected her authenticity as a meticulously crafted facade, an expertly engineered illusion. They described her public appearances as backed by a glam squad, a media team, and interviews in rooms with better lighting than a Marvel film set. This wasn't raw truth, it was real calculated, real composed, and real aware of the brand she's selling. A kind of authenticity that fit neatly into a marketing campaign and left just enough room for a book sequel. Her famous "I hate politics" line, always delivered with the same tone as someone reluctantly accepting an award. "Oh, I didn't ask for this," she implies, while simultaneously collecting Emmys, publishing deals, and honorary degrees. Like Pokemon cards, became a running joke. They labeled it weaponized empathy and curated vulnerability, a manufactured machinery of empowerment where every perceived setback or hardship conveniently leads to another lucrative product. Line. Even her ability to twist narratives, like her anecdote about Barack's love for rare fish leading to expensive bills, was framed as part of this calculated performance, minimizing the actual cost to taxpayers while playing up her own relatable frustrations. The truth, they concluded, is that Michelle Obama isn't just a person, she's a product. A polished, high-functioning, mass-produced symbol of empowerment that has been carefully engineered to look both aspirational and relatable. And for a long time, it worked because America loves a story, especially when it comes with wardrobe, changes, stadium lighting, and just the right amount of humble brag. But when every message is perfectly rehearsed, every hardship is softly lit, and every setback leads to another product line, it inevitably stops feeling inspiring and starts feeling like a daytime soap with better calligraphy. So what have Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly truly exposed about Michelle Obama? It's not some hidden criminal past or a dark personal secret in the traditional sense. Instead, it's the systematic, almost shocking revelation of a profound, almost offensive disconnect between her carefully presented public persona and the undeniable reality of her privileged life. They weren't just poking fun or being catty, they were roasting the entire manufactured machinery behind her. The very idea that someone with every platform, every advantage, and every opportunity could still credibly play the role of the underdog, from the illusion of a perfect marriage to the marketing genius behind her struggle narrative, from the elitist health mandates to the bitter taste of endless affluence. The picture painted is one of a figure so deeply entrenched in her own curated reality that she can no longer truly connect with the everyday American. Her life isn't hard, it's an empire, meticulously managed and branded, where even basic needs, like food and shelter, become fodder for public relations and financial gain. She might not have meant to be the poster child for performative struggle, but somehow she's got the poster, the merch, and the trademark filed Tucker and Megyn in their blunt assessment were less cruel and more simply baffled. They couldn't quite understand how someone so globally adored, so professionally successful, could continuously play the role of the underdog, like Beyonce complaining that life on tour is hard because the private jets don't have Wi-Fi. Michelle's life isn't hard. It's curated, focus grouped, branded, tested, and polished to extreme effectiveness. Yet when she tells average Americans that they should just rise above, eat better, work harder, and love more, it somehow skips over the inconvenient fact that not everyone has the time, money, or paid help to make those goals look Instagram ready. As rumors swirl about a possible political future, a scenario Megyn suggested was inevitable because it's the only thing left on her bucket list. The comedy they noted simply writes itself. Imagine someone publicly hating politics as much as Michelle, yet somehow ending up on every ballot vision board like the reluctant prom queen of progressives. The truth is, Michelle Obama, as they articulated, isn't a villain. She's a product, a highly polished, high-functioning, mass-produced symbol of empowerment, carefully engineered to look both aspirational and relatable. And for a long time, it worked because America loves a story, especially when it comes with wardrobe changes, stadium lighting, and just the right amount of humble brag. But when every message is perfectly rehearsed, every hardship is softly lit, and every setback leads to another product line, it inevitably stops feeling inspiring and starts feeling like a daytime soap with better calligraphy. The real dark secret exposed isn't a hidden flaw, but the gaping chasm between the manufactured persona and the undeniable reality, leaving viewers to wonder, can true inspiration ever genuinely flow from such a profound disconnect?